The Dodgers have advanced. They roll the Reds 8-4. They win that series. They advance to the divisional round where they will face the Phillies. LA clicking now. They scored 18 runs, the most by a defending champion through 2 games of a postseason since the 1956 Dodgers. And with that thought, we bring in Robert Stanberry Olney III, who gets up with us early this morning. Let me start quickly with the Dodgers there, because their manager, Dave Roberts, announced that Shohei Ohtani will pitch Game 1 of that DS against the Phillies. What do we expect in what will be the most anticipated start that we've seen in a long time?
Greeny, total dominance based on how Ohtani finished the season. Think about this. In his last 4 starts, 19 2/3 innings, 1 run allowed, 4 walks, and 27 strikeouts. All year, the Dodgers had this long, slow ramp up of Ohtani's pitch count, and man, it has paid off. They wanted to get him ready for October. That's exactly where we are. Look, I know you covered Michael Jordan, and he might be the greatest ever. I know that every time we see Shohei Ohtani play, we have to remind ourselves how unique he is, the greatest baseball player we've ever seen. Everything he does as a hitter and as a pitcher.
Yeah, they come along once a century, like Shohei Ohtani. All right, so that's what we have looking forward to beyond today. But today, we have 3 winner-take-all playoff games.
Couple Shohei Ohtani questions for you. Is there a way that you can quantify the business impact that Shohei has had on the Dodgers? Like, is there a number?
There are many numbers, none of which I will share publicly, but yes, all I can say is it exceeded everything that we anticipated. And we anticipated a lot. We didn't know it would have this kind of impact. But more importantly, not just for the Dodgers, the impact it has had for Major League Baseball. The combination of the Dodgers' long-standing legacy and stature in the sport, combined with this newfound celebrity of the most popular global baseball player right now, has really propelled interest in our game, not just domestically, which it has, but increasingly around the world. And that's a great opportunity for baseball to capitalize on. We've had our eye on greater internationalization for a decade or 2. This has really given us a heads up, a leg up on the next thing that we can do, not just in Japan, not just in Korea, where we also have had players from, but increasingly around the world where baseball is reaching out. You've seen all that baseball has been doing in Europe for the last few years.
Yeah.
That is continuing. We have our eyes on the Indian subcontinent because of their affinity for cricket and the similarities to baseball. So this newfound attention that baseball is having because of the Shohei phenomenon, yes, it has impacted us tremendously. But it's been an even bigger impact for baseball
So
at large.
It sounds like what you're saying is it's only a matter of time now before we start to see major league caliber players come out of Europe, potentially come out of India. Am I putting words in your mouth?
No, I hope that's right. I was in the NBA before we had any Europeans in basketball. Try to imagine the NBA today without Europeans in it, right? So that day is coming, that they will get here. I don't know when. I don't know if it's 2, 5, or 10 years. But all of us have our eyes on it. And with increasing globalization, with increasing exposure of our game around the world, will come the next wave of players also. And that'll be a great day.
Well, I guess one of the potential hurdles of that, which is not a case for a combat sport, is that baseball's complicated. Like, there's a lot of rules that do you feel like that's a hurdle as you expand the game internationally?
And yet 7- and 8-year-olds seem to do just fine
in this
with
country.
it. Okay.
Sure.
Exactly. So it can't be that complicated.
Well, I suppose.
It's not a run up and down and hit a goal thing like hockey or like basketball. But even those things have rules around the edges. Yeah, ours is 3 outs, 3 strikes, 4 balls, 9 innings. Like I said, 7- and 8-year-olds can master that, so I don't think it's too complicated.
I guess, yeah. I mean, 7- and 8-year-olds can master a language too, but try teaching a 50-year-old a language, you know? It's a lot harder.
Well, that's why increasingly we need to make sure every 7- and 8-year-old is exposed to baseball. And that's why it's so important that we get even more exposure across every platform we can think of.
Another Ohtani question, because you kind of led right into it, which is that you said he exceeded your expectations. You tried to sign Shohei, whatever that was, 7 years ago or so, at that point, and he said no, and he signed with the Angels. Then you got to him this time. What has surprised you the most about what your expectations were when you signed him to what actually has happened?
Well, there's two things, two ways I'll answer. First, the business side is obviously it has increased our revenues, ticketing, sponsorships. You look around our stadium, we have a lot of new sponsors that weren't candidates for sponsorship a few years because we have a lot of foreign international sponsors. So that has been helpful. You can't walk around this stadium any time of day, any day of the year without running into a group. And we have 4 different languages for our groups. Every day of the year, we have business coming in. I've heard a number that 30% of the visitors to Los Angeles from Japan make a stop at Dodger Stadium. So those are some of the business things. One of the things we learned after the news broke in Korea about the swindle of his translator was we didn't know all the things about Shohei that we know now. Once that wall came down, before then, we were being told Shohei doesn't want this, Shohei doesn't want that. It really never was about Shohei. It was what the translator didn't want. We just didn't know that. Once he left, all of a sudden, and that wall came down, we realized what a funny guy he is, what a fun guy he is, what a cooperative guy he is, what a great teammate he is. There's not a player on our team who doesn't love him as a teammate, no one who works harder. And a lot of those things we didn't know when we signed him. We were going to sign him anyway, because just what he does on the field is amazing. But we've learned that subsequent, and it's just been fantastic.
I mentioned Yamamoto and Sasaki also. I'm curious, have you learned anything about international scouting or player evaluation?
I was in the league when Ichiro came over. Until then, we didn't know that a position player could make it in the major leagues. We didn't. And it was an interesting thing to watch. Turns out he could be the best player in the game and go to the Hall of Fame, even after a Hall of Fame career over there. So I think it's just more reinforcement that their quality over there in Asian countries, particularly in Japan and Korea, also in Taiwan, they have players who can play over here. We're just spending more time and resources because all of us are greedy. All of us in baseball, we're all looking for the next best thing. And so we're out there scouting more so than we did in the past, but it's just reinforcing what we've known now, at least since the time of Ichiro arrived.
I was looking at the Dodger lineup, and you start to look at Mookie Betts won an MVP, Freddie Freeman an MVP, Ohtani's got 3 MVPs, Clayton Kershaw has an MVP. So that's 4 players, 6 MVP totals. And I started to think, let's look at other lineups here of how many MVPs have been in a lineup in baseball history. Now, the Yankees, this year's Yankees have 4 players who have won MVPs, 4 MVPs total. Now, Goldschmidt didn't win his MVP with the Yankees, and Cody Bellinger didn't win his MVP with them. Giancarlo Stanton didn't win his MVP, so it's Aaron Judge. The Dodgers in 2024, Kershaw, Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, and Mookie. The Dodgers in 2022, Betts, Freeman, Kershaw, Bellinger. 1996 Red Sox, Canseco, Clemens, Mo Vaughn, and Andre Dawson. But how many MVPs? Canseco didn't win his MVP there. Dawson didn't win his MVP there. Clemens won his MVP there. Did Mo Vaughn win his MVP there, I believe? He did. Okay. The Angels in 1982, Rod Carew, Don Baylor, Fred Lynn, and Reggie Jackson. But Freddie won it with the Red Sox. Carew, did Rod win it with the Angels or the Twins? Did Reggie win the MVP with the Angels or the A's?
The A's.
A's, okay. See, that's the difference here. I'm looking at a team that won the MVP on those teams. The Reds, Johnny Bench, Joe Morgan, George Foster, Pete Rose. They won their MVPs with the Reds. Yes, Marvin?
So I don't think you can count this year's Dodgers because Mookie won in Boston.
Yeah. Yeah. Still impressive, though, to have MVPs in the lineup.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah. I still look at that 78 Reds team, bench Morgan, Foster, and Rose, and all four of those won MVPs with the Reds. Greatest National League lineup in history, in my opinion. Yes, Mark?
I'm legit asking.
Okay.
For the fans in Cincinnati that watch that team, do you think they should have won
Yes.
more?
Yes. Yeah. They faced Brooks Robinson and the Orioles in 1970, but that 70 Orioles team had 4 20-game winners. Oakland was just better when they faced Oakland. They were better. They beat the Red Sox, one of the great World Series of all time. Then they swept the Yankees. They embarrassed the Yankees. They probably should have won 2 more out of that. But I'm going to be fair to Baltimore. It was a great lineup, pitching, hitting, defense, and Oakland just had the Reds' numbers. Even the Mets, when they'd play in the playoffs, seemed to have the Reds' numbers. But that lineup, I put that National League against anybody. That lineup against any National League lineup. Pitching staff wasn't great. Had a Hall of Fame manager in Sparky Anderson. But when you talk about, you had Bench, you had Perez, Morgan. Concepcion, to me, is a Hall of Famer. Pete Rose, George Foster, Cesar Geronimo, one of the best defensive players in the game. Ken Griffey Jr. Then you had George Foster, who came in, and he had 50 home runs back when people weren't hitting 50 home runs. That was a powerful team. Danny Dreesen was on the bench. I mean, they had a really good team. Yeah, Paulie.
I'm looking at a couple other lineups in somewhat recent history that had 3 killers that were back to back to back. The 1996 Mariners, Ken Griffey Jr., Jay Buhner, and A-Rod. 49 homers, 44 homers, and 36 homers in the 96 season. Mm-hmm. That's a nice lineup.
And the Dodgers have 1, 2, 3. Like, that's what's so impressive is you got MVP. And the fact that you got Ohtani leading off. See, that's what makes it so difficult for a pitching staff or a pitcher. Your first batter is Ohtani. You don't get to ease into the lineup. You might have a guy who's a leadoff guy who gets on base and maybe steals a base. I mean, that's the way it used to be. Now he's here. And can you imagine? You're gearing up for your start. You're spending 4 days to get ready. You're doing everything. You're checking out scouting report. You're down there long throwing, and then you got your bullpen session. Then you're ready to go, and all of a sudden your teammates, come on, let's go, let's go. And then Ohtani gets to the plate, and it's just like that.
High pressure right out of the gate.
And pitchers have to kind of, the mound is always different than the mound in the bullpen, and it's just a different feel and all of that. And you're trying to settle in, and all of a sudden, that's why Ricky Henderson, I think he led off 79 games with home runs. Something incredible. Just imagine. You start the game, and it's like, damn it, he did it.
The best.
And you go in there saying, I'm not going to give him something to hit. I'd rather walk him than have him, take me deep.